Yo! What is up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of House Divided here on Orange Bloods Live. I am Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. We are, today at least anyway, the men in black. We don't really try to do these things. They happen organically, and when they do, we acknowledge them. We won't go the entire show without acknowledging that we both decided today was Black T-shirt Day. Nevertheless, like, comment, subscribe to the show. Do not hold that against us. Come in, jump into the Specs chat. I see South End Zone Queen. I see Chris Bennett. I see Sandman. Everybody's jumping into the Specs chat. Jump in as well. The water is warm. Super chat it up. We'd love to be interactive. And Mr. Hastings, I suppose we'll continue today's show kind of talking about some of the same things that we've been talking about all week. It has turned into Texas staff turnover week here on the show, but also kind of in the collective attention span of Texas football fans. They've lost a coach. They've lost another coach. They've gained a coach. Now they're waiting to see what happens. Today they gain a director of scouting, which I wonder if the hire of the director of scouting tells us anything at all about what may happen next with the running backs coaching position that's open. So not the sexiest day, but interesting news nonetheless. And again, I think all this stuff is connected. So when we start talking about who do we think is going to replace Tashard Choice as the running backs coach, I think today may give us a slight piece of evidence with regards to where the answer is going to be.
Yeah, and I definitely have a big follow-up for you once we get this name out for the director of scouting. Also, big update to start the show, Catch. I can see the chats today. There's Chris Bennett not only saying what's up, but apparently my Aggies' new basketball uniforms are freaking people out.
Those are awful. Have you seen them?
I have not. I am scared to look. And South End Zone Queen says maybe they'd look better in maroon, but it's bad. Then she did add.
No, it's just bad. You know, they've tried to reinvent the wheel on basketball uniforms, and sometimes you can't look. They've been doing the damn things for now, what? Creeping up on 100 years? There's only so many ways. They've tried.
Yep. It's and it's you know, it's not just A&M. There's all kinds of horrific ideas out there.
What they leaned into was like, hey, we'll have sleeves and we'll make it kind of look like a soccer uniform. It's not good.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I also saw right before we got started, Sandman jumped in with stop letting Jonte cook, OMFG.
I mean, isn't the best part of the Jonte Cook story, at least up until now, that he's not actually cooking? Like, we're not talking about meth or crack.
Yeah.
There's not many positive silver linings in the Jonte Cook story as things stands, but I guess at least there's not white lines.
Yeah, right. It's fair. That is fair. So I can see the chats today. I'm very excited about that. Catch. And to the point of Texas and, you know, coaching staff and support staff and everything, let's throw the name out. Aaron Joe is his name. Unique spelling.
I knew you were going to mention this. First words out of your mouth.
Not just the ERIN. I've worked with an ERIN. That's unique. But this is ERRIN. Aaron Joe is now the director of scouting at Texas. He had been, to today's discussion, he had been at Georgia Tech and Catch. He spent a year at Bama. He did find a year at Bama as assistant director of player personnel. So new director of scouting for Texas, Aaron Joe, kind of, you know, filling things out in terms of support staff. Brandon Harris, if everybody will remember, is now the GM, in case I'd forgotten kind of how everything slotted. Because didn't Harris used to be the director of scouting, but now he's GM? Do I have that right?
Yeah, and they bumped Taylor Searles up to his job. And, you know, these things are constantly evolving in terms of the job titles. And there wasn't a general manager, and now there is a general manager. And the duties of all these positions have been changing. But yes, and I think what stood out to me was when we were talking about Tashard Choice yesterday, and we said, well, look, if you look at the last 3 hires that Sark has made on this staff, he hires Chris Jackson, and it's impossible not to notice that Chris Jackson has a Mater Day background, that's where he went to high school, that from a connection standpoint, he goes right to the heart of the program. That's probably the program in California that Sark would like to have a flagpole set up at. And then you look last year, Kenny Baker, when he's hired, we hear, well, he's a fantastic developmental guy, but he's also from the state of Georgia. We love his connections and ties there. At the time, and I've admitted that this week, that I somewhat rolled my eyes at that, but considering what Texas was able to do in Georgia this year in recruiting at his position, no less, it wasn't an insignificant thing. And then this past week, you look at the Mark Orfe hire, and he goes to high school at North Shore, and he's from the Houston area, and he played his college ball in Houston, and it's generally kind of assumed, and there's a vibe that this guy will do good work in Houston. Well, what stood out to me about Aaron Joe is that he is the recruiting coordinator at Georgia Tech. Now, that might not stand out to a lot of people, but, and we've talked about it with kind of indirectly, Chad, with the Blake Gideon hire this week, that Georgia Tech is kind of a program that's on the move up. They are having some success with this staff. We know they pushed Georgia a year ago. We know that
couple of big wins.
Yeah. They're showing up in recruiting. They are getting the occasional national top 100 type, and it doesn't feel like a super shock. So on some level, you want to give this guy, okay, well, what do we know about this guy? Well, we know he was a general manager and former personnel guy of a program that started to earn some respect, for the same reasons why when Gideon takes that job, we're like, hey, you know what? You can do something there. They got a little something going on. Their NIL has been producing. You'd look at this guy and say the same thing. Like, he is coming from a program that's been on the uprise. So presumably, I can't say I know a lot about the guy, but he comes with Georgia connections. One day after you lose a running backs coach from the state of Georgia, whose Georgia connections were kind of seen as invaluable, you hire your new former Georgia Tech general manager, but now director of scouting is from Georgia. He is played his high school ball in Florida. It's more Texas hiring people with backgrounds that touch the places that they most care about. And I think this is interesting just because when we talk about Tashard Choice, well, whatever they look for in a new running backs coach, it's probably not going to automatically have to be from the state of Georgia, because they've kind of addressed the loss of Tashard Choice with the hire of this cat. I just would continue to say, as we look this weekend to see what Sark does, it'll almost be a surprise if he hires somebody who doesn't have a background that connects. It's less important to be known as a great recruiter, it seems like, from Sark's perspective, as it is to have tentacles to areas that Sark would deem as recruiting. Because when you look at all of the last few hires he's made outside of Nansen, but even with Nansen, you would say, well, they want to get involved with Samoan players and island players, and he helps them do that. So even then it was like, well, he can help in Utah and Hawaii and areas like that. So even in a situation with Johnny Nansen, where it was more about he was way overqualified for where Texas has him, and he and Sark are boys, and those two things added together made for a slam dunk. but all of the recruiting hires that Sark, or all the hires, period, that Sark is making have general backgrounds in areas that Sark would deem vital to the health of this program. So again, when we start thinking about who's the guy to replace Tashard Choice, somebody with that kind of, and when whoever it is, whatever the background is, once we see it, we need to go, oh, he's from Georgia. Oh, he's from Florida. Oh, he's from Louisiana or Dallas or California or something.
Yeah, you start looking for those little ingredients. You start looking for the clues of who this is going to be. Yeah, and that is, I mean, by the way, before we get too far into the show, chef's kiss, brilliant work from our graphics department today. Tyler, Jalen, I gave Tyler's a younger guy from where we are. So when I gave him the General Lee Dukes of Hazzard reference, bravo to Catch.
No idea if he even knew what that was.
No, I had no idea. Bravo to Catch for thinking it up. It made us giggle when we thought of it, and then it really made us giggle when we saw Tyler's image of Sark like jumping off the General Lee. It's just fantastic. But this is one of those. There's certain places, Catch, where it's critical when we think of, the rivals around college football, the big dog elite teams. But I don't think of Ohio State and say Oregon as also the recruiting stuff. But when I think of Georgia, Bama, USC, that makes me think of recruiting. And to today's discussion, it makes me think of those states. Are you big time in Georgia? Are you big time out in Cali? Obviously, Sark's already got the Cali stuff anyway, so it's just kind of extra. But then with this side of of the discussion and the country, it is maybe him filling in some of those gaps in certain ways, and you have to be good in those areas. It's Georgia. We know in Louisiana, you can't be nothing in Louisiana. Obviously, you got to deal with your own state, but it's huge. And the big follow up at some point, you don't have to get to it now, Catch, but at some point, I want you to address: has Texas now done what you told them to do? Because every time I see a story about director of scouting, GM, and all that stuff, and all these rearrangements, I wonder if they're getting closer to what Catch wanted them to do, or what you advised them to do while ago.
They're not.
So they have, even with all of this, they still haven't done what you have talked about.
No.
So for you, there's an entirely different job that currently doesn't exist. That you would create if you were running it.
If it was me, yeah. The thing is, Sark's doing a pretty good job. They're recruiting at a really high level. Would I do it differently? Yes. But, I've joked all week and I'll continue to say it. The worst thing you could almost do is give a suggestion out loud that you like to Sark and expect that either that could or would happen, that he is an off the path, do my own thing kind of a guy. And, what if I really wanted something to get accomplished, I would say the opposite. Chad, what Sark should do is not hire anybody with pro experience, nobody who has a history of dealing with agents and negotiations and all of those things. Nah, don't do it, Sark. Screw that. And then he'd probably go hire that guy.
Yeah.
But if I say you should go hire, it's just not what, and it's not what Sark does on anything. Anything. If you spend a lot of time wishing for Sark to hire somebody that you love, he's going to do the opposite. You just need to know that. I think he proved that with the hire at his DB coach this week. He went out and hired. And look, the other thing about the hire today of Aaron Joe, and again, I'm with you, Chad. I like Aaron, spelled E-R-R. I just like that. E-R-R-I-N. Nice job, Aaron Joe's parents.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's wild. I like it.
Scott spent a year with Saban. If you've got a little bit of Saban fairy dust sprinkled on you, you're an obvious candidate for a Steve Sarkisian staff.
Yeah. And it's a year after Orfe. Orfe was 21 and Joe is 22. And by the way,
who were both after all of the Alabama guys that are at Texas were at Alabama. So it wasn't like they've crossed paths, any of them.
Yeah. And by the way, Sandman, we don't know if it's assistant to the director of scouting. He was assistant director of player personnel. So maybe no need to make an office joke. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, what I've been wondering, Catch, about this Bama time period, it's right after Sark left, calls the plays in 20. He's at Texas in 21 when Orfe's there. And then the next year when Joe is there, and then Orfe is gone. And I think that would have been either right to Rutgers or somewhere and then Rutgers. But then Joe is there in 22. Not only Nick Saban, I also keep wondering, Catch, about a guy like Pete Golding. Golding was the DC during that time. Did Sark keep that connection? Was he on, and Golding certainly would have been a guy to talk to about what he thought of Orfe, because he's the DC at that point. So it's probably just keeping all of those connections relevant, keeping those connections going. And heck, you're getting back into coaching. You're at a big time school like Texas. You just left a big time school. You're going to keep those guys in your phone. You're going to be checking in with them. And now 2 straight years in a row, a guy that was on the staff or support staff ends up in Austin with Sark. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. I almost always get the sense that Sark has made a call to Nick Saban and said, Nick, I'm in the market for X. Any thoughts? And every time Sark comes back with somebody that's a guy, it's like, oh, this guy spent 9 months with Nick Saban. Interesting. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I guess what I would say is Steve Sarkisian has a type. And his type, and I have a type, my type's different than his type. But, like you could go, okay, well, who do we know Catch likes? And it's like, well, we know he loves Keira Knightley. We know that, that there's a Miley Cyrus thing that's always ongoing. We know that he's historically a big Natalie Portman fan. You start adding it up and you're like, okay, Catch has a type. You look at Sark. He likes young guys. He does. He loves like a 35 to 40 sweet spot. And he loves guys that have a little bit of Nick Saban sprinkle dust on them.
Yeah. And and it's different kinds of Saban. There's two kinds of Saban magic. There's the Saban magic on the way up, and then there's that Saban car wash magic, where somebody like Sark, somebody like Charlie, somebody like Major, somebody like whoever it is, Will Muschamp, good example. But sometimes it's about you've gotten a rep somewhere. Something didn't go perfectly. You're thought of as a pretty good coach, but something didn't go right somewhere.
Bill O'Brien,
another great example. You go through that Saban car wash and you come out T-Town clean on the other side. But in the case of the younger guys, Catch, it's almost a stamp of approval. It's almost like, hey, by the way, when this car first came off the line in the early washes, one of those washes was Saban's. And we all know what that Saban wash will do for you. It puts that extra clean coat on it at the beginning, and it gives you a little, oh, okay, you wash at Saban's? Yep, that's where I get them washed. Okay, fair enough.
It's got that Saban smell.
That's it, like the new Saban smell. Yeah, this one's got new Saban smell, and then you can get that the recycled new Saban smell. That's what the older guys get.
All right. I want to change directions if we may.
Okay.
Chad?
Yes.
What the hell are we going to do about our boy Jonte Cook?
Oh, geez. You want to get into that, huh?
I mean, look, it's our boy.
I know. I know. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just, and Joe threw it in earlier. And for those people wondering, Catch, I had a little a text in the text chain with the Outsiders crew. Somebody piped in with like, "Oh no, that was from last week," and I had to clarify, like, no. This is an additional story. Last week was theft. This week is the weed, and it's like, oh, so they didn't even realize that it was two separate stories. And yeah, it quickly, Catch, went from, because I'm always thinking of kind of what's the joke, what's the little side comment, it quickly got not funny.
Yeah.
Because we're there now. We are definitely past the funny part where you could make jokes on it. I'm hoping for that one more chance somewhere. Catch, we've seen stories that involve both of these things end up okay. And by both of these things, I mean theft and marijuana. And we all know it's 2025. Like, the idea of marijuana, oh my God, like, that's different than it used to be. But we've seen stories, from the past, Cam Newton and others, where, somebody got a rep, somebody had a deal, somebody might have stole something at college. Well, that sucks. It does suck. It's a horrible thing to do. But you can come out clean on the other side. Jonte Cook needs a whole different kind of car wash than what we're talking about with Saban. He needs somebody in his life that matters to him to turn that thing, man. He needs a 180-degree turn. He'll just need one program somewhere to give him another shot. But Catch, it's got to be, this has to be the clean moment. It can't be three of them. There can't be three of these. There can't be another story in 2 months. There can't be another something in April.
Well, there is another story. There already has been another story.
A third one?
Well, because the situation at Washington, whatever that was.
Oh, I guess you're right. If that's one, then
the story.
Right. And there's been two stories since then.
And there was scuttlebutt, whether it's fair, truthful, I don't know, but like that he was in a little bit of trouble while he was at Washington, which is why he flamed out so quickly.
Right. That there was something about him they couldn't trust.
Something.
They couldn't even, yes. Right? Couldn't even get to spring practice. Couldn't trust it. That was in and out. What was that? A week?
Yeah.
Week and a half. Like, that's, whew. It was fast. I don't know. Now we're to the point that he may just get added to that list, Catch, of, greatest hunks of talent that you've ever seen just kind of get wasted. I hope that's not what it is, but I don't know. That's where I am on it now. It's sad. I keep waiting. I'm going to keep hope alive as long as I can, but it just looks really bad. Looks really bad right now.
Yeah. We, I do this thing when guys get recruited, the best recruits, right? Think about, oh God, who's somebody recently that Texas got that's a bad mother, whether it's Justice Terry or whomever. And I will say, like, hey, there's a 60 or 70% chance that this guy goes on, he ends up being drafted in the NFL. And when they're this highly rated, when they end up drafted in the NFL more times than not, like they get drafted in the NFL. And then I will almost inevitably every time will say, well, so all this guy has to do is avoid injuries or being a knucklehead, or, homesickness. There's like a weird long list of things that could sidetrack a guy. Could be in an accident. Like there's just an endless list of things. You come up with a million things. Oh, he was in a boat accident. Yes, boat accidents. Add it to the list. But the big one is like injuries and like being a knucklehead.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be a knucklehead. And if you can avoid being those two things, injuries and knucklehead, like you're going to play on Sundays in all likelihood.
Yeah.
There is occasionally a percentage of guys where you're like, oh, we missed on that guy. He sucks. Like he just ended up not being good. That does occasionally happen.
Yeah. And hopefully we're still in knucklehead range. because I think you can come out of knucklehead range.
Yeah, but we're now in the knucklehead range.
It's just piling up now. There's too many of them.
Well, in the movie The Bronx Tale, and I know you haven't seen it, and I've referenced this before, and so I'm gonna reference it again. But the big tagline in that movie is like the worst thing in life is wasted talent. And the scene in that movie when the kids get in that car to go do what they're about to do in the car is one of those like, oh man, don't do it, guys. Bad. And like, that's where we are with Jonte now. We're at the point where you said it maybe the most eloquently way of doing it. Like, it's not funny. We're officially in the, oh man, this guy's messing it up.
Right.
This guy's messing up if he just does the straight and narrow, if he just stays healthy, if he just stays out of knucklehead territory, if he can just do those things, his life, it like maybe even like the lives of generations of cooks that follow changes potentially.
And the old saying, Catch, is, nothing's so dirty it can't be made clean. This thing can be turned. I mean, just look at the definition of it. You're talking about a little theft and pot. If he goes to the right NFL team one day, he can do commercials for pot. Like, that can almost be set aside for a sec. And then stealing stuff is not great. Again, but I think this can be overcome, but you got to figure it out. Like death by 1,000 paper cuts. You don't want to get to 650 paper cuts and realize, oh, maybe now we should turn it. Like, just figure it out, turn it around. It can be made clean again, I think. And because Catch, that talent is still that talent. He's got that card, but eventually that card's not going to be worth anything if the other side is that just annoying. Nobody's going to want to try to cash that card in. So I hope he gets it figured out. And I don't know where now. He had 2 Power 4 chances. Now what happens? There's a lot of football below that, though. There's a lot of football teams below it that could tell me I would never sell my soul. Are you sure? You sure?
Yeah.
I mean, because in the end, what are the basics? He needs to figure out the pot laws of his area and follow them. And he needs to not steal stuff from other people. It's not that that's not that complicated if you can just get through to
and Chad, the thing he has going for him is the pretty people rule. He's 5-star.
Right.
So like he's going to get another chance. But like he needs to know that this is the chance. That he's not a cat with 6 more lives.
Yeah.
That at some point, he's got to. We're just at that point now where it's like, son, either you figure it out or you're going to be a guy that people talk about for 30 years and not in the way that you've always thought that you'll be talked about when you're done playing football for 30 years. And, I just don't. The thing about the Jonte Cook thing is it's just been going on for a while now. I can remember last spring and summer where I would come into you and I'd go, man, Chad, you want to hear what I heard about Jonte? Like, they don't think he's going to catch any passes this year. And like, we would talk about it and we'd be like, what's going on? It would be like, I don't know what's going on with that guy behind the scenes, but like, they're not happy with him. And like, it's always something. And we're at officially the 12-month mark of like, it's always something with Jonte Cook. And I hope he figures it out, man. Like I'm pretty open. I don't care where these kids go to school. I want them to go someplace where it works out and they have happiness and they like live the dream. And like, he's just one of those guys who's been handed a platter of potential dreams. And he's like spilling it all over himself. And most people never have that. And look, these things, you and I were young in the business that we're in a long time ago. And it feels like when you first get into the business that like, oh man, lots of jobs, lots of opportunities. And you know what? There does get to be a point where it's like, you know what? Ain't nobody reached out to me in a long time about a job. It's like, I have a job. I'm okay. But yeah, it's interesting that like nobody's reaching out. And I think that's Jonte Cook's about to go from a place, Chad, where so when he's at Texas, everybody wanted him. When he transferred to Washington, he found out like my options are limited.
Yeah, and I think he probably thought he was not going to end up in a place like Washington, not to dog them out at all. But, I think he had a bigger dream in mind, and Washington was below that dream.
Yeah.
So he got humbled there right away.
He's probably like Texas State, UTSA, Sam Houston State. Like that's his next stop. And if he can make it work, the NCAA is set up. They can always keep coming up and down should he choose. But
right.
The next one, we do have a couple super chats. The next one, though, probably won't be a Power 4 school. Paul jumped in, said, rank who had the worst 2 weeks? Drake, Mavs fans, Pat Mahomes Jr. 2, does Booby, you've heard the Booby update, right, Chad?
Oh, yes. Booby Feaster, DeSoto Star has reclassified to 2026.
Does that help the Horns? And in 3, Pop Old School, Sophia Loren hotter than Raquel Welch. It's
a good battle.
That is a fantastic battle. Let's go back to 1. I think Mavs fans have had the worst week.
I could make that argument too, because first of all, Pat Mahomes Jr., that's Patrick Mahomes, right? Why did he put John White put Jr. in it? Patrick Mahomes didn't have near as bad a week as those other two. And Drake has had plenty of time to deal with whatever the last couple of weeks were going to be. I would agree with you, Catch. It's Mavs fans, because trust me, Mavs fans got hit blindsided.
It's the blindsided nature almost as much as anything.
Right. You couldn't have been prepped for that ever. I mean, you could not have been. It's never happened ever. 2 guys in the NBA have never been traded for each other like that ever. Ever.
At what point did Anthony Davis go from the unibrow to, yeah, he's a superstar, but I don't want my team to draft him or trade for him or touch him at all? He has such a weird Q rating because it feels like once upon a time he was one of the cool guys of the NBA. And now the Mavs traded for him. And I'm like, well, as a Sixers fan, I'm a third-party individual on this. And I look at Anthony Davis and I'm like, well, yes, he's a superstar. I wouldn't want my team to have him. Like he's just a weird guy that he's not Ben Simmons, right? You're not talking about a guy who gives you nothing. This guy gives you like 25 plus a night. He's a great player. And right. Yet it feels like the Mavericks got 5 dimes, a roll of pennies. I don't know. Like it doesn't feel like they got equal for equal.
Yeah, no. He's definitely, he's that, he's that car that you had that always breaks down. And it didn't always break down, but it started breaking down at some point. And about the 3rd time you got caught out on a highway, that's when Anthony Davis turned. That's the one. It's about that 3rd time when his fan base had to deal with, oh, hell, he's just not going to be able to stay healthy.
But I feel like it even happened before, like they won that championship in LA that, is what it is. But when they won that, I feel like even then the stigma had already hit him, that there was a coolness factor to him that had just gone out the window. And it was like, oh, he's all right, but I wouldn't want that to be my guy.
Yeah, no, that's probably fair. That's fair. I agree with you. That's Mavs fans. 2, does Booby reclassifying help the Horns? Obviously,
I don't think it hurts him.
I was going to say, is there any effect here? What would the effect be one way or the other?
Well, if he was seriously leaning hard to one school right now more than any other, then he's 12 months closer to ending up at that school, as opposed to if he waits another year, there's more time for things to happen to impact his recruitment. Now right now matters a lot, as opposed to a week ago. Right now didn't matter nearly as much because you still felt like there was a lot of time left. When I heard the news, didn't think, oh my God, this helps or hurts Texas. So I'm indifferent. Yeah. I'm kind of lukewarm on that kind of side of it. And I guess on the final side of this, do you lean one way or the other on this, Chad?
I'm going to sell and go Raquel Welch.
Me too.
Yeah. Raquel Welch is hard to beat in these discussions. Sophia Loren, if you want to talk about a classy discussion, she probably wins it. If you're just talking about like walking in a room in that dress at that party and being that impressive, it might be Sophia Loren. In a hotter than discussion, it's Raquel Welch.
I mean, I just, you went all time versus all time, and somebody had to lose. That's how the game works.
Yeah, it is close.
James had a $1.99 super chat. Why is Kelvin Banks's fall? Why is Banks falling down draft projections? James, kind of, I think, a simple question to answer at this point. Number one, they haven't really done any of he hasn't done any pre-draft stuff. So he hasn't gone to the combine. He hasn't done any individual workouts. Teams are looking at film, and I think that Kelvin Banks, from a physical measurable standpoint, doesn't jump out the way that you would hope. He's not as tall. His arms aren't as long. There are some people who we've started to hear, when he was coming out of high school, I was one of these people who thought physically he looks more like an NFL guard than he looks like as an NFL tackle. And people would say, you're crazy. He's going to be a tackle all the way. And I'd go, well, I don't know. He looks like maybe he's a college tackle, but an NFL guard, at which point, how should we project him as a player? I think he's an NFL tackle now. Ironically, I was one of these people that thought maybe guard was his long-term position. I think there's some people who think he might be a guard instead of a tackle. And if you think that's possible, then that in itself explains why he would be falling down the draft board a little bit, because guards aren't as valuable as tackles.
James, thank you for that super chat. If y'all want to throw a super chat in, you see how it happens. It'll just go right to the top of the list. And thank y'all for throwing something in the tip jar if you do. By the way, I think I have seen these A&M uniforms now. Somebody wanted like my live reaction, so we will get to that before.
Oh, damn, we're doing that?
We don't have to.
I kind of want to do it, but it's messed up.
We don't have to.
Your live reaction to it? Like that's...
I mean, I think I found them. I think I did. I'll double check with you. But before we get to that processed anger, let's get to something that's not angry. And Catch, I just want to give a shout out to not only you for allowing it to go on the board, but to one of the Orange Bloods posters that jumped in. I did a post this week on my thoughts as a Dallas fan, a Mavs fan, Cowboys fan. I'm still trying to process some things. But I also mentioned sinus and snoring specialist at the beginning. And check out this post from somebody on Orange Bloods. Chad, I sent my wife to the snoring guy. I had begged her to get a sleep study for years, and she never would. But I have gotten so much good intel from this site that when I said I heard about it on OB, she scheduled a meeting immediately. Yeah, it turns out she has a stops breathing moment about once per minute. Thanks for bringing that to the board. Mr. Henley, thank you for bringing that up. I love hearing about stuff like that. I love hearing stories like that. That was kind of my story, convincing my wife that she needed to get something checked out. And if you need to do that for a loved one, please consider sinus and snoring specialist. I'll throw that QR code up for you just real quick. But shout out to the guy on the message board there, and best of luck to his wife and everybody checking to getting it checked out. 601-0303 or sinussnoringent.com. Calm. That did my heart good, Catch. I like it. We could trying to get people to breathe a little better. It's good. It's hard to talk your loved one into it sometimes.
That whole turns out she stops breathing once every minute thing. It's one of those things. It reminds me when my kids were in the NICU, and they when they're born, they stay in the NICU until they're able to breathe on their own without the help of like a respirator, like the breathing machines for a minute. And then it's like, once they do that for one day, for a minute, without any issues, they let them go. And you're like, wait a minute. What do you mean you're letting them go? Because for one day they proved that they could go a whole minute without help? Like, that does not seem like enough. Now, all these years later, like, still breathing and what you do at night. And like, go see the good doctor. Like, make your life a little bit better. Like, it might be something as simple as, hey, you don't need anything major, or maybe you're not breathing once an hour.
Yeah. So definitely something to look into. Also, kind of speaks to the power of Orange Bloods, the board, and Orange Bloods Live. We hope if you want to join that group, join that party, and you want to advertise, contact Sonny. You can become a sponsor of an Orange Bloods Live show, or maybe it's an orangebloods.com column. There's Sonny's email and phone number if you want to check it out that way. So just real quick.
Happy Valentine's Day to Sonny, by the way.
Yes. Happy Valentine's Day to Sonny and to everybody else out there.
She's got a good boyfriend. My guess is like he's got good Valentine's Day plans for her.
It's a good thing.
Heather is sick.
Oh, sick on Valentine's is bad.
And so it's one of those things where you just kind of want to stay out of the way.
Yeah.
It's like if I hit it with the like, hey, tonight, like, what do you think? Oh, no, I don't feel good. I thought I made it clear to you. And then, but if I don't do anything, it's like, I was sick on Valentine's Day, and then Jeff couldn't. And I'm caught in this weird in between of literally my wife has not gotten out of bed for the last couple of days.
Yeah, y'all are going to just have to do, the Valentine's some other time. You got the Saturdays, tomorrow's the 15th, and you'll get it figured out. You might have to do something later on. It'll work. Super chats coming in, $1.99 from H-Dog, buy or sell Rodney Terry gets fired after this season.
I'm still a sell, but that's ask me in a couple of weeks. I mean, really, ask me over the weekend. Like, the thing about, and this is where, honestly, if the answer is you have to keep asking this question, then you probably know the answer to the question. But will he or won't he? Should he or should he not? If they make the tournament and have success, he's definitely keeping his job, I think. If he doesn't make the tournament, I don't think he'll keep his job. So there's a little bit of TBA. Like, they're still projected to make the tournament as of this very moment. Yeah. Chad, we had a $5.
Now, I like this one. Would you rather Andre the Giant be a center or Macho Man Randy Savage at middle linebacker? That's easy, Matt. Macho. Yeah. Easy. Andre the Giant's too big. That's just, you can't. There's no way. You wouldn't
get. He said Andre the Giant at nose tackle.
Maybe. It had to be younger Andre, like Fro Andre.
Because now it's like, okay, we're going to turn him into Gilbert Brown.
But yeah, you'd have to pick the right time in his life, because the poor guy had that condition and he was still everything just kept growing.
Your answer is right, Chad. It is Savage. I'm just trying to make the question a little better.
Yeah, because remember, Matt, Mach was a minor league baseball player and a pretty damn good one.
If you're a head coach, though, in the SEC, you know who Andre the Giant is? Sydir Mitchell. And you're just taking that 400-pound dude, and you're like, well, look, if he turns into a run-stopping defensive tackle, we got something.
The other thing to keep in mind with Andre, Catch, one of the saddest things I learned about Andre and watching documentaries and stuff on him, he never went to a doctor to try to address what was happening to him. He could have, but he didn't.
Interesting.
So things just kept progressing and getting worse and worse and worse for his bones and his back.
Hey, that goes back to the whole sleep doctor thing. Go see a doctor.
Right. If Andre the Giant goes to the right doctor at the right time and gets a right answer, and things could be stopped or slowed down or treated, then who knows what happens. Then Matt, you might have an interesting take, but I'll go macho on that one. That's a very bizarre, wonderful super chat. Thank you for throwing that in. All right. So catch the can I just assume this is so bad what I'm looking at? I have to ask you. So I finally found on Twitter, on the Aggie basketball Twitter, I'm looking at these 3 pictures, and it's like sweat tops. It's like workout tops with a T right there. You're telling me these are actual uniforms?
That's what I've seen. Yeah.
Okay. So this one's simple then. It's really easy, the reaction. The reaction is your uniform shouldn't look like warm-ups.
Well, I said it's like a kind of like a soccer kit kind of a look.
Like it's a bad look. And it reminds me of my least favorite thing in football is when people go gray on gray, because that looks like sweats to me. Looks like Hans and Franz from SNL for you older folks. And it looks like you're not trying. You have to look like you're trying. And those are bad. Look, the minimalist thing in basketball, like Ketch talked about earlier, it has taken over. And sometimes it's not bad when the Hawks wear just ATL. That's not bad. When the Spurs will go, what do they do? ATX maybe? Or I guess that's more of an Austin-y thing. But if the Spurs have Dallas goes DAL or what, you make it minimal. You just put a logo right in the front. It can work. It can work. North Carolina, Duke, all kinds of teams have tried it. You can't look like it's practice though. That looks like layup, not even layup line. That looks like, it looks like something you might wear for the layup line, and you're going to go in and take it off and put something else on. I'm looking for a sponsor on the back of that. I'm looking for like a message for life, end hate. That's what I'm looking for.
That looks like
on the back.
They made that trying to sell some crap before Christmas. And so they're wearing them out during warm-ups.
And it's a great idea, Ketch, for the fans. Say, Longhorn, Aggie basketball fans, check out this new Adidas gear and put it in the store and make it like a jersey. If you want to make it an NIL thing, put a player's name on the back.
Well, no, it sucks so bad that they had to co-opt it with the players and the team to try to make it cool.
That would be like if a baseball team wore bad jerseys for a game. Didn't wear their actual uniforms, just wore bad jerseys.
I mean, we've seen this happen before where it's like, put that ugly garment on and model it out there.
Yeah, so this
Make
isn't
it
about
look good.
What I was worried about. It's actually not as bad as I thought where I was, when I started to look for it. Because they look, you're going with your basic color scheme and all that stuff. This isn't grotesque in like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. It's just, you didn't go far enough. You're not trying hard enough. That's the badness of that. So there's my reaction to the Aggie sweat uniforms. That's not good. That is not what you need to be wearing. And Paul nails it. Looks like something I'd wear when I was washing and detailing my car. Yes, Paul, the teams need to look different than the fans. There's the number one rule of going to a basketball game. I need to be able to tell who the players are and who the fans are. If you can't tell, something's wrong.
That is a pretty good rule, by the way.
It's kind of a decent rule. Like, Ketch, back to pro wrestling real quick. The mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart, is the guy I heard say this. The biggest lesson he learned in wrestling, the reason he dressed so loud, someone told him, you either dress like the crowd. If you dress like the crowd, you'll be a part of the crowd. You have to dress like you're not in the crowd. You have to stand out. And it's kind of the way it is for uniforms. So, yeah, that's bad. That's when minimalism goes too far.
Just occurred to me, and apologies if somebody else has already pointed this out. There are like 9,000 people who cover Longhorn football. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, you said this, and so already said it. My bad if that has already occurred. But I was looking at Aaron Joe, the new director of scouting for the Longhorns.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at his rivals page because he's got a rivals page from 2011. And he signed with Georgia Tech. He went to he's from Lakeland, Florida originally, went to Lake Gibson High School. What's interesting about that is that Kyle Flood recruited and offered him when he was at Rutgers. So on staff, Kyle Flood will have known and recruited this kid since he was 16, 17 years old. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was the Rutgers, he was the O-line coach for Rutgers at the time that Joe was being recruited. And then eventually obviously became the Rutgers head coach. So there you go. Just when we were looking at what this guy's connections are, we knew that he spent a year with Saban, but he has Kyle Flood does know him from now. How much Kyle Flood remembers this kid from 14 years ago when he didn't sign him, I don't know. I mean, I have no idea, but I know that he recruited and offered and went after him, and it doesn't look like got him in for a visit.
But you also just threw a connection out that I'd forgotten about. That Flood was at Rutgers. Another little could that have been a guy that, depending on who you are, a school like Rutgers might seem like nothing. It might seem like too far down the list of schools to consider. Guy like Kyle Flood might feel differently. And obviously a guy like Steve Sarkisian would look at Flood's story and be like, oh, yeah, no, Rutgers is what it is. And we are going to go look at these people individually and not just look at
it's just such a small world, Chad. If I look long enough, there's always a connection, another connection that you're like, oh,
always
12 years ago, they ran into each other at a Denny's.
That's it. You never know. You never know what the connections are going to be. Thanks to almost 900 of you guys into the Specs chat right now. Remember, Valentine's Day, if you're panicking, if you don't know what to do, make sure if a bottle of wine needs to be a part of it, Specs has a sale going on. Here you go.
With hundreds of wines on sale, Specs is turning these aisles into the ultimate love story.
Uncork something special during Specs' huge wine sale going on now. Specs, the fun starts here.
Just show up with wine. Not a bad idea. Whatever you're doing, even if you have a great plan, maybe showing up with wine in addition is a good idea. A couple of weird chats that just came through. Our man Cody Carpentier says, Chad, why is Illinois facing South Carolina this week? Cody, I didn't realize they were, but a little, I don't know, little Big Ten SEC middle of the year stuff. They've done those before.
I think the most obvious answer is that no one cares about either of those schools, and really. So why nobody's going to notice?
Yeah, and I'm assuming you mean, I'm assuming that's men's hoops. I believe that's true. Yeah, I mean, Cody, you remember the Big Ten SEC thing used to happen right in the middle of the year before Texas was in the SEC. They would do like they'd have a Big 12 SEC and they'd break it all down, and you'd have those matchups. So I'm assuming it's just something like that. And then Flintstone Foot Job with a perfectly legitimate question. Sinus and snoring can help you with sleep apnea, but can they help with Chad's loss of sleep over all the spring game talk? I don't know. I'm not sure. I am not sure. We still don't have official word one way or the other on that. I'm waiting. I'm trying not to lose sleep. I'm trying not to lose sleep over it. I promise. I
have a random question for you.
Okay. I love a good random
somewhat
question.
Lead into my buy or sell eventually. Were you about to do something?
No, go ahead.
Why doesn't the movie Wildcats have staying power in the sports lexicon in 2025? What did that movie not have? Because I think what it does have are some real quality pieces.
I think
no pun intended.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Is it because, I mean, it was put out at a time, if you put out a movie now where you tried to go female lead, female coach, that kind of thing, it might get accepted a little differently. And
I mean, that movie's woke before woke was ever thought about being woke.
right. So because it was put out in an era that didn't really want to accept that sometimes, is that why it doesn't hold up now? Because when you just take it apart, we've been talking this week about, what do you say, reverse engineering stuff. If you just look at the parts, if I just lay it all out to you and I go, okay, young Woody Harrelson, right? Yeah, and then you go, hey, remember Bubba Gump? You ain't gonna believe what Bubba Gump looked like back in the day. You ain't gonna believe it. He's a stud quarterback. I'm not gonna tell you more. Just watch. And then you're gonna be, you're gonna take the guy that my wife watches him now in some crime show that plays the opposing coach. Great villain. I can't remember that actor's name. He's awesome. Goldie Hawn, right? I buried the lead. Goldie Hawn. You have all these ideas that you can lay out. Nipsey Russell in the 80s to me was not a bad play.
Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes. There's all kinds of stuff in that movie. I don't know. It's just.
So I'm saying, like, how did that get buried? Because you've just listed pieces.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you know what? You say no more.
Yeah, the best word I could use, if I could use one word, it's my favorite. I'm trying to think of a football movie I love more than Wildcats, because I'm not sure if there is one. But one of the reasons I love it might be one of the reasons it didn't quite cross over like you're talking about. It's a little grimy. It's a little grimy in certain areas.
Don't make her give up the kids, Frank.
It's a little grimy, right? Just a little bit. I don't know. Just a little bit. It's what I love about it.
I can't believe that Goldie Hawn is in a football movies in the mid 80s and it's in her contract that she has to be nude in the movie.
Oh, I didn't realize it was in the contract. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, that's,
In fact, if you think about it, she was Swordfish before Swordfish.
Bingo.
Because everybody loves to talk about Halle Berry and Swordfish. It was, I'm laying out and we're going to get the bare boob, but it's like bare boob, but kind of just laying. She's in a bathtub, spoiler alert. She's in a bathtub and breast.
Oh, by the way, her ex-husband is just peeping her.
Yeah. Boobs just floating in a bathtub.
The stuff in the 80s that they used to just let go. Nobody stopped and went, hey, that's not good. That's not good. You guys know that, right? Like, is there nobody here? Is there nobody here to let the other men know that peeping on this woman while she's bathing isn't? No.
Yeah, nice. It was, but it's a great question. I don't know. People, if you haven't checked it out, check out Wildcats. Wildcats, a great football movie. It might be my favorite football movie. There's a couple I would put up in the discussion, but because I saw it at the age I saw it, and then I bet I rewatched that movie, I don't know, 5, 6, 8 times, like in a 2-year span. The movie I've seen the most in my life is Teen Wolf, but I think Wildcats is second. I think I've seen Wildcats.
How many times you just played the opening rap from the beginning of the song?
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot. And Wildcats is also high on my list of don't you dare try to put it on a regular channel. Don't you dare try to TBS Molly McGrath. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
That may be the captain of the can't watch this on Turner Broadcasting.
Yeah. Well, the captain for me is always going to be Smokey and the Bandit. Like, Smokey and the Bandit is the top of that list for me. Beverly Hills Cop's on that list, but Wildcats is absolutely on that list because it's just not Wildcats if you can't have the language. I mean, it just doesn't work. And again, Catch, that's why I think it didn't hit that crossover.
You forgot Wesley.
I know, and I forgot Wesley Snipes. But It's because
it's
of that.
his first movie.
The language is what grinds that movie up a little bit. I loved it. I was a little kid wanting the swearing. But yeah, I think that's why it didn't cross over. It wasn't clean enough. If you clean that movie up a little bit, it might have crossed over a little more. Just saying. All right, let's see. We did have a super chat just come in from Juan. Let's check this out.
Two movies I would like to merge together.
Do what now?
I'd like to take Wildcats and merge that with the cast and crew and story from Lean on Me.
Oh, geez.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, and now they call me like Morgan Freeman on the sidelines with a bat.
About to say, you just took Wildcats and you roughed it up even more. Man, that's a rough neighborhood if you combine those two movies. Damn. Good Lord. Molly McGrath and the Batman together?
Hey, that's a duo that will win you some games.
That's a team right there. That you talk about director of player personnel. You get Joe. You get Joe.
She had a walkie-talkie. Joe, it's a 50 code 58.
Joe, my linebacker's not here. Can you find him, please? Oh my God. That would be wrong. That is just wrong. That'd be a terrific movie, though. Juan for $9.99. There are rumors on another site an undisclosed NFL team is going after another Texas assistant. Any truth to that? And what do you think of the latest array of Jonte Cook? Juan, we did discuss Jonte a little bit earlier. We can give you a little more. Catch, rumor about another Texas assistant getting looked at?
It's true. We waited an hour to let the cat out of the bag.
Well, I didn't realize it.
No, I'm just being facetious. Haven't heard that. I mean, there are always rumors. So, no, I have not personally heard anything, but I haven't been in my team's chat. Who knows what messages have been sent in the last hour since we started.
Yeah, and as far as Jonte goes, Juan, we talked about it a little bit. I mean, we're both past the point of any kind of joke and just hoping for the best for Jonte. Hoping he gets another chance at some point, and more appropriately, hopefully he will set himself up to get another chance. But stuff's got to happen pretty quickly here. Got to get things turned around because you can also get forgotten real easily, and you don't want that to happen to a guy that talented, assuming that he does want to play ball moving forward. Matt, buy or sell the replacements better than Varsity Blues?
I'm going to say sell, but it's closer than I think first blush might give it.
Yeah, it's a really great discussion because you're really not having like a great cinematic experience versus great cinematic experience discussion here.
Oh yeah, that's not what that is. It's not what that is.
This is like two cotton candy flavors going head up. This is like two bags of your favorite candy in a battle. This is Skittles versus Spree or something like that. That's what this is. And I would sell and go Varsity Blues, but I have a special place in my heart for Varsity Blues. The replacements, I saw it later on. It was all right to me. It was pretty good, I guess, but it's not a movie I just will tell you I love. I love Varsity Blues. So I'll go Varsity Blues. Matt?
I think you stated that properly.
Good deep thought. Good deep thought there. That is.
But I think I think instinctively most people will answer it the way we did, Chad. And I think the replacement's those closer. I think the instinct is to immediately just say Varsity Blues.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I think the replacements is actually closer. The answer is Varsity Blues.
Right. It is closer though. You're right. Yeah, because it's got that same kind of feel good. I know I'm not watching Remember the Titans, but I'm having fun. Like,
I mean, you're not even telling the scab story correctly, but it's okay.
Yeah, we'll just have some fun. We're just having fun. We're having a fun movie. Come on, let's not be breaking it down too hard. All right, Barb's 10 throws in a 10. Well done, Barb's. Honorable mention. Wow. Necessary Roughness. No, Chad? Texas State Armadillos with a young Jason Bateman, Kathy Ireland, Scott Bakula, Rob Schneider, and Sinbad.
I don't understand. What did we do?
I forgot that Rob Schneider was in. Maybe he's just trying to.
He's the announcer.
I forgot Schneider was in that movie. Yeah, it's a good mention, Barb's 10. Same kind of football movie. We're just there to have a good time. Kathy Ireland's the kicker. What could go wrong? This is awesome. Let's do it. Let's do it. Catch, I remember every time I think of Necessary Roughness, I think of one thing. When I was in high school playing tennis, we were at the regional tennis meet. And across the street, they were filming Necessary Roughness. And so between matches, we would walk over and try to peek and look. We saw Kathy at one point. We saw Jerry Rice at one point. We're like trying to just catch a glimpse of famous folks. And so we got to go see kind of the set of Necessary Roughness back in the day.
Oh, that's cool.
Kathy Ireland live in a football uniform. High quality. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Kids, go see Necessary Roughness if you haven't seen it. Oh, look here. Just a big yo from our man Wes.
What up, Wes?
What's up, Wes? $4.99. Good to hear from you, brother. Hope everything is going well. All right, let's give thanks to one of our great partners around here. And I've told you this week it's going to happen. Today's Valentine's. Tomorrow, it's Ketchup at Hayes City Store. That's right. Me and my wife and the Sacamanos, we're going out to Hayes City Store. That means we might be sitting right there. One of those tables. One of those two tables in the front. Let's see. How many people do we have in our group? I think we got it could be that table for 5. Could be that high top right there in the back. They've redone the ice house. They've put more screens in. We're going to go check it out tomorrow. I'm going to have one of those pork chops, grilled, blackened, chicken fried. You can't go wrong. I'm going to have that cream gravy that I love so much. Get on out to Driftwood. If you haven't in a while, make your plans. Definitely get a reservation set up. That is easily my first recommendation. And then after that, just hit that menu. You can't go wrong. Tell Travis, Tamara, and the crew that you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live. And go have yourself a good time and a terrific meal out at Hayes City Store. All right. Let's see. We got that super chat came in. We cleaned all those off. If you want to send us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. We started today with Director of Scouting updates for Texas. More appropriately, we're starting with Sark and what elements he's looking for when he has to have a replacement on a coaching staff, when he has to have a replacement with the support staff. Aaron Joe is the guy that comes from Georgia Tech and was their director of scouting and was an assistant director of player personnel at Bama in 22. We mentioned that. So as Sark continues to look for Tashard Choice's replacement, there's also this position.
Let's buy or sell.
And we're going to buy or sell too as we come up. You want to go first or second, Catch?
I'll go first today.
Fair enough.
Buy or sell. You ready?
I'm ready. I can tell you're ready. Hit it.
I am. It's Friday. Buy or sell number 1. You've got at least 6 hours of men's and women's college hoops in you this weekend.
Sell. Not 6. I'm going to check out Texas and LSU on the women's side. Past that, I can't promise you anything.
Okay. Buy or sell number 2. Blake Gideon will be a head coach faster than Tashard Choice.
Interesting. I'll sell and go to Tashard Choice.
Okay. I was going to say, and it can be any level, like.
Yeah, I will sell and go to Tashard Choice. Just, the more experience a little further down the line. So yeah, I'll say I'll go with Choice.
Buy or sell number 3. You know what major thing happened last night in women's college basketball?
Buy if you are talking about USC and Juju Watkins beating UCLA and ending their undefeated season.
There you go. Good job.
Is that it? Yeah. Battle of Los Angeles, the Queens of LA. That's a That's been a cool story to watch throughout the year. The fact that UCLA was one and then USC comes and bites them. Man, there's so many stars right now on the women's side as compared to the men's side. If you're looking for star quality, if you're looking for high entertainment value, man, the women's game's got a lot of stuff going on. Texas LSU. Moody Center is going to be packed on Sunday. That's a top 5 matchup, Catch. Top 5.
I know.
LSU is 5. Texas is 3. The Longhorns have won 5 in the top 10, and they've beaten 8 ranked teams this year. It's going to be a great matchup. Women's hoops, you're doing it, putting on a hell of a show, and there's a lot of folks watching.
Well, and I was even thinking from like a seeding standpoint, yeah, who knows when they would want these matchups to occur. But in a world where you're getting 1s and 2s and regionals, and you could have USC and UCLA playing for a chance to go to a Final Four. Mm-hmm. You have 4 teams in the top 8 from the SEC. So you could take any combination of South Carolina, LSU, Kentucky, Texas, rank them, have them playing for chances. And then you could even like throw UConn and like Notre Dame into like their own kind of regional rivalry / battle. Like, no, you're right. You're right. Buy or sell number 4. I don't know how you're going to answer this. You would rather have a woman give you a rose on Valentine's Day than a piece of chocolate.
Let's see. Man, I'll take anything I can get, but I think in general, I'm going to sell. There's just a lot of ways you can work chocolate. There's a lot of things in there. So I'm going to sell and go with chocolate, but I would not be upset if somebody gave me a rose on Valentine's Day.
All right. And finally, prime on prime. Mom versus daughter, game of hotter than.
Ooh, okay.
You knew if I was going to mention her name earlier that she was going to be involved in hotter than in all likelihood.
Okay.
Buy or sell, Goldie Hawn, hotter than Kate Hudson.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Prime on prime.
By the way, learn something today.
What's that?
Kate Hudson's dad is not Kurt Russell.
Did I know that? I don't know that I knew that.
Who's her dad? Dad named like Bill Hudson, who's an actor but was never in anything. And I'm like, how the hell did that guy hook up with Goldie Hawn?
Interesting. Okay, so as I go through this, whatever ingredient, and I was going to give credit to Kurt Russell, but I'm glad you corrected me beforehand. Whatever ingredient that guy provided, I'm going to say it puts Kate over here. I'm going to sell and go with Kate Hudson. Goldie Hawn has that wonderful, like, cute hotness to her, but Kate Hudson is more hotness. There's not as much cute to it. And I love me some Goldie Hawn. And prime Goldie Hawn, man, you could hang out with prime Goldie Hawn for a while. But that's not what hotter than's about. So I'm going to sell. I'm going with Kate Hudson. I'm going to say it's the Kate Hudson right about the time she fell in love with and married, by mistake probably, but married Chris Robinson of the Black Crows. It didn't work out, spoiler alert, but I'm going to say that's the Kate Hudson, and I'll take her.
I think you're spot on. I have nothing to add.
Yeah, I did enjoy the Black Crows material around
hot
that
versus cute hot. I think sums that up perfectly.
Yeah, I think that is ultimately the answer. All right, here we go, Catch. Let's start with this one. Buy or sell number 1. Texas baseball starts today. It's on Flow Sports if y'all want to check it out on your TV. They will finish top 6 in the SEC and take 2 from the Aggies in April.
Buy. What the hell? I don't know that I believe it, but like, what are the stakes of me being optimistic and a bit of a homer? So I'll go buy. I honestly don't know if they're going to finish in the top 6, but that's not such a high bar that I think I'll sound crazy for saying buy. So gotcha. I'll go buy, but it's on the fence. It's an on the fence buy.
By the way, shout out to our guy, Zach Sim, who not only covers baseball incredibly well for orangebloods.com. If you haven't checked out Orange Bloods Live for baseball, he got like 19 minutes with Coach Sloss last week, and it ain't a one-off. Every Monday, I think he's going to get Coach Sloss. He's going to be talking to Schlossnagle every week. You hear some hardball talk? That video is there for you from this past week, and there's going to be another one coming out on Monday, so check it out. All right, Catch, let's get to that game on Sunday. Texas women will beat LSU and get to 10 in a row.
Bye. I'm not doubting them now.
There you go.
Hey, by the way, man, they put it on Kentucky.
Yes, they did. Kentucky, top 10. That was a top 10 team, and they held them to was it 30 points below their average?
It was ridiculous.
I'm telling you. Good guy. Yeah.
There's a moment in the third quarter late where Kentucky made it like a 12-point game, and you were like, oh, okay, Kentucky. And then it just dawned on me. It was like, what kind of moral ass victory am I giving the Kentucky women's basketball game where I'm like, oh, nice job, women. You got the lead down to 12, and then Texas made sure that didn't last long. They were incredibly impressive. Vic's got that team playing great basketball. I'll go with them to keep it going.
And I know some fans won't agree with me here, Catch, but just like I think every Texas team should be playing every A&M team in all sports, I firmly believe Texas women's hoops needs to be playing Kim Mulkey every year. I do. I know it's not the most popular thing to say, but I love the energy it brings. And if you can't enjoy the idea of Vic versus Kim at least once a year, maybe more, you really don't know who those two are.
No.
They're two of the most crazy, cool, quotable coaches that have ever existed. And they also do really good work. And Kim's going to wear something crazy. And it's just going to be a show on Sunday. Get out to the Moody Center. I would say get out there if you don't have tickets. It might be sold out. They're going to put 10,000 in there, I think, for sure on Sunday afternoon. Can't wait to check that out. All right, Catch.
I got a zinger I want to throw out there.
Okay, please do.
You're not going to let me cut me off right before I say the following.
Come on.
Which is, now it's never good when you proclaimed I have a zinger coming out.
Nothing more old man than using the word zinger, to describe your zinger.
I was just going to say that the thing about Kim Mulkey is, you're right. That she is the kind of coach that Texas should play every year. And even after she's long dead and still burning in hell, that's a neutral site game that they should probably make sure they're still playing.
Well done. Well done. See, if you could have just flat-faced that one, if you could have just flat-faced delivered it and then I move on, that could have been brilliant.
Yeah. But that wasn't going to happen, Chad.
No, because Grandpa had a zinger. Hey, kids, sit down. I got a zinger. Zinger alert. All right, Catch. Let's see.
I do. I need we need a feature where I can push a button.
Zinger alert. And we'll have a bunch of weird stuff pop up like that. Zinger alert! Here it comes. Oh my God! All right, Catch. Let's see if I learned my lessons today. Buy or sell number 3. Texas's next running backs coach will have ties to Georgia, California, or both.
I'm going to sell because it could be Texas, it could be Louisiana. There are still other areas, but it will be ties somewhere. It won't be. I'm telling you, it was the spidey senses when we looked at the Mickens coach from Notre Dame and you looked at his resume and you just went, that just doesn't make sense. And I think whoever it's going to be will look at their resume and it'll make sense.
All right, Catch. We're going to finish off with birthday hotties of all ages. Let's start on the old side. We'll respect our elders. Buy or sell number 4, Florence Henderson would have had a birthday today. Rest in peace. Prime on prime. Mama Brady. Hotter than Mama Partridge.
I'm going to go by. I've told you I have a type, and I think Mama Brady probably falls inside of my type.
I'm a Mama Brady guy here, too. Mama Partridge is pretty cool. Plus, she's traveling with a band. You're probably having more fun with Mama Partridge, but in terms of a hotter than, I think it's Mama Brady.
Now, if we're going to bust out some Donna Reed into these conversations and start going moms from that era.
Yeah, Donna's different.
Everybody just needs to know where I stand, and I'm Team Donna Reed.
Donna's different. You're right. You're right. I'll bring Donna Reed. I'll go find a battle for Donna Reed for you at one point. That'll be good. All right, Catch. That's the older side. Let's go to the younger side. Check this birthday. This will make me feel old. Buy or sell number 5. Megan the Stallion is 30 tomorrow.
Okay.
Prime on Prime. Megan, hotter than Nicki Minaj.
I'll go by.
Okay.
I'll go by. I think, and I don't know that I can articulate why.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Megan may be prettier. This may be like me taking the reverse Kate Hudson, Goldie Hawn.
Oh, I see.
That I might be going cute hot versus hot.
Mm-hmm.
There's something just about Megan Thee Stallion's face. I think she's pretty. Whereas I tend to, that's not necessarily, I don't know. Nikki's a hard one for me to, do you ever see a stripper and it's like, she's hot, but she might not be like your cup of tea per se, but she's half naked. She's in a music video or something, and you're like, yeah, well, no, like she's hot, but not like your cup of tea hot. I think that's what I would say. That's what Nikki is for me. Like I acknowledge that she's hot, and like I wouldn't like roll her out of bed over breadcrumbs, but like it's not necessarily my thing.
That was a thinking man's hotter than right there. That was fantastic. Happy birthday to Megan the Stallion tomorrow. That is how we buy or sell. I'm going to just scan here real quick, make sure we didn't miss any. No, we got that one. We got that one. I think that's it on all of the super chats. Let me just hit you with a couple more things here real quick. Shout out to AV Consultations. This is the place, like Ketch told you yesterday, what got his attention is when I talked about shame. The shame of realizing that your mom or your grandmother or your dad, or sometimes it's a friend, but the family can really hit you. When you realize that Aunt Gladys has a bigger TV than you do, well, that just sucks. Aunt Gladys doesn't even want to have a bigger TV than you do. She'd make fun of you. What do you mean you don't have 80 inches? You should. You need to get a bigger TV. This is the place that can do it for you. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. Get rid of the jealousy. Get rid of that problem. Get yourself a bigger TV. Come on. AV Consultations. That's the way to do it.
I'm telling you, it is the thing, Chad. It works. I was just like, geez, man, I shouldn't even be in the same zip code. It shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, no, it's true. I got a neighbor. I through the years, I've had a couple neighbors that I tell myself, either you have to get a bigger TV or you got to stop going to their place to watch stuff. One of the two. one of the two. You're either going to save your mental health or you're going to save some money, but you've got to figure this out. I can't keep going over there and watching that badass TV and not do something about it. All right, Catch. Anything else we need to hit before we close the door today?
What happened to Goldie Hawn? Why did that stop? Why did she stop being a thing?
Why did Goldie Hawn stop being a thing? Goldie Hawn had what was the Wives Club with Bette Midler and the crew?
Yes.
Ex-Wives Club or just the Wives Club, whatever that movie was.
Club or I don't know. Yes, but yes.
I remember that one. I'm trying to think of other Goldie Hawn stuff.
I mean, it felt like she was one of the biggest stars of the 80s.
Did she just like duck out to raise family? Was there that?
No, if I knew the answer, Chad, I wouldn't ask the question.
I don't remember hearing about like a major sickness or illness for Goldie Hawn. She and Kurt Russell were together. Are they still together? I guess they're still together. They were the together but not married couple forever. I guess they're still that way.
She did Wildcats in 86 and then Overboard in 87.
My wife digs Overboard. That's Mel Gibson?
Oh, yeah. No, that's Kurt Russell.
Oh, it's Kurt Russell. I'm sorry. My wife loves that movie.
My wife does too. Women love that movie.
The women love them some Overboard.
But then she doesn't really do anything again until First Wives Club for almost a decade.
That's interesting.
She did a movie called Bird on a Wire, which I've never heard of.
That's Mel Gibson. That's the one I've seen. Yep, I've seen that movie. I think I saw that in the theater. Goldie Hawn and like a Lethal Weapon, mullet Mel Gibson. That Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
they were.
I'm looking at the poster now. It's Mel and Goldie is on the poster.
Yeah, it was actually a good movie from what I remember.
Okay, well, I've never seen that movie. Yeah. It did $140 million at box office.
Yep, I'm part of it. I went and saw it in the theater. I think I saw that movie on a date back in the day.
Then she was in a movie called Deceived in 1991.
No, didn't see that.
Don't know anything about it.
I don't either.
Then she did a movie called Crisscross.
Nope. I'm assuming that's not like the documentary, like the biopic of the band.
She
wasn't like the manager of Crisscross.
Now, I guess, so she did House Sitter in 1992. And I have seen that movie.
Okay. Could this be where things started to go wrong? I don't remember House Sitter.
It's a Steve Martin movie.
Oh, Steve Martin, the one with Queen Latifah? That's a different one. That's a different one. Okay.
No. This one is Steve Martin, Goldie Hawn, Dana Delaney. It's a
Dana Delaney. Dana Delaney.
It's just I don't know. I don't know what happened. Like she just stopped. She went from just making bangers.
One of our Cotton says Deceived is really good. That is a thriller. I always get Deceived confused with the Demi Moore, Michael Douglas, like sexual harassment movie, whatever, because that one's got like one word title as well, but I get them confused sometimes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and that's right. You know what? Let's just take a moment. We have found a movie I've seen and that Jeff hasn't. Come on. Can I get a little love?
You're right.
Bird on a Wire. I've seen a Goldie Hawn, Mel Gibson banger. He just told you it made $100 million. I've seen it. Catch hasn't seen it. How dare you, Catch?
It's true.
How
shame on me. I have homework this weekend.
Definitely. We got look at Matt, knows how to play the game. Prime on Prime, $5 super chat. Kate Winslet, hotter than Kate Blanchett. Blanchett. That's a buy for me.
It's a sell.
Okay.
I'm a Kate Winslet guy, like just in general.
Me too.
I'm a Kate Winslet guy. But if we're talking about who's hotter than, one of the things I love about Kate, and I guess Prime on Prime is maybe a key piece of the puzzle here.
Mm-hmm.
Because current Kate Winslet's kind of like soccer mom Kate Winslet. She's just a beautiful, normal-looking woman.
Yeah, she's also one of those like we talked about with Allie Larder and Diane Lane. As she grows up, as she ages, like.
But I think
better in a way.
I think Kate is hotter. At her hottest. I think Kate wins this, but I could be talked into being wrong. I mean, it's Kate versus Kate. This is one of the all timers.
And Blanchett can have. Oh no, Blanchett has her incredible moments. There's no doubt about it. By the way, thank you to Dez is the first one I saw. Yes, disclosure is what I was trying. It's also a word that starts with D. That's why I get them confused. Disclosure and Deceived. One has Demi Moore, one has Goldie Hawn. I have seen Disclosure. I never seen.
I need to do some homework when the show's over. Maybe Goldie got a cocaine habit that I'm unaware of. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know why she ducked out for a little while. Is that okay? We got that super chat in. So I think we've got all those cleaned off. Real quick before we get out of here, let's give TCH their love. Hijackpoker.com. Get it loaded up on whatever device you want. Play online poker. Got to be in the state of Texas to do it. But remember, you can deposit and cash out at one of the 6 Texas Card House locations. Thanks to Texas Card House for being a great sponsor. You see their logo right there underneath. House Divided. All right, Catch. Anything else we need to hit today? Any other weird questions?
No, but I was looking up something for Kate Blanchett because I had a Kate Blanchett question, and there's a link to a story about her being mistaken briefly for Kate Upton, and I feel like that validates my thought on that hotter than.
What? Okay, no disrespect to either person, but who sees Kate Blanchett and thinks to themselves, "Hey, is that Kate Upton? Oh no, Kate Blanchett. Sorry, got my Kates mixed up." Look,
I don't know. It's a story. Like it was on the Colbert Report. I guess you need to Google that, like on YouTube.
Okay.
It does remind me of the time that I was working in the SID office for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I was a senior in high school, if I'm not mistaken, or a freshman in college, one of the two. And a kid came up after a Texas game and said, "Mr. Brockermeyer, can I have your autograph?"
Oh, no.
I signed it.
You got mistaken for Blake Brockermeyer? Tell me how you signed it. Did you come up with...
I signed it Blake Brockermeyer.
You didn't get fancy? You didn't do like a hook 'em horns or...
No.
Thanks for your support. You didn't
signed it Blake Brockermeyer.
That is great. I've definitely never had anything like that. My favorite is still Bill Schoening.
I'm only like 10 inches shorter than Blake Brockermeyer, but you know.
I did tell you the story of Bill Schoening signed Mike Ditka's name one time, right? They mistook him for Ditka in Chicago. Somebody was hammered in a Chicago bar, and Schoening just took the paper, signed it, and said, "Go Bears." Because that mustache is competitive to Ditka's mustache. They're both like mustache gods, and they got mistaken. What are you going to do? There you go. All right. See, hang on. Matt's got one for us on the way out the door, Catch. They were in a movie together, too. I think they were in a movie. Well, I don't know if they were in a movie together.
He's right.
Yeah. Brooklyn Decker, hotter than Kate Upton.
He's right.
Boy, that's a nice little battle. I think you're right. Brooklyn Decker is one of those people that when you're hotter in person than on television, I'll give you extra love, Catch. And she's on that list for me. And I have some interesting people on that list. It's not just world-class models I have on that list. But I remember the very first time I saw her live in the flesh, watching Andy play tennis. And she walks down the aisle, and I'm like, holy mackerel. Look at it was incredible. It was everything I could do not to scream out to her, "Oh my God, you're good looking." I didn't do it. I wanted to be the guy from Can't Hardly Wait. "God, you're a hottie." But I didn't do it. I swear.
You've told that story like 10 times. So I know. Yeah. I know your story.
Yes. I'm sorry.
No, I knew what you were about. I knew what story was coming.
I wasn't apologizing to you. I was apologizing to Brooklyn. That's who I was apologizing to.
Who by now just knows of you as the creeper in Austin.
Yes, the creepy guy who can't stop talking about me at the tennis event. All right. There you go. All right. We're good. I think we're done. Thank you for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications. Walking up towards 1,000 of you in that Specs chat as we close up. We will be back on Monday. Today at 6, it's Football with Friends. And as I mentioned, if you're a baseball freak and you haven't heard the first interview that Zach Sim got with Schlossnagel, it's a good 18, 19 minutes breaking down all different aspects of the team as they get ready for this 3-gamer in Arlington, where they'll play Ole Miss out of the SEC and a couple other really good teams. Oklahoma State going to get that matchup as well.
It's real good, nerdy hardball talk.
Oh, it's great. And that tournament's awesome. And now that it's indoors and weather controlled, and you don't have to play in 20-degree weather in Dallas this weekend.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
That's going to be great too. So everybody have safe travels if you're heading up to Arlington for that one. If you're headed out to the Moody Center for Texas and LSU and women's hoops, that's going to be awesome too. Have a great weekend. Happy Valentine's Day. Keep it clean. Keep it safe. Hope everybody has a great Valentine's Day tonight. And we will talk to you on Monday at noon for another House Divided. See ya.